Good evening, good evening. The subtitles are probably going to go berserk with this live because I'm in a very, very noisy environment. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to have time to edit it. It is what it is for now. I'm coming to you to talk about workplace issues. I really hope you can hear me. Come a little bit closer. Workplace issues. You'll see that I spend quite a lot of time talking about resources and talking about the three tanks that we want to keep our eye on. Our purpose tank, our personal resources, and then our work resources. Now, the work resources one is a hard one to speak generically about because everybody's work is different, everybody's industry is different, everybody's role and context is different, right? So broadly, you can talk about productivity issues, and you can talk about assessing the degree to which your role is clear and in alignment with you. So there is one thing though that I could say that probably is general, and that is about thinking about the different levels of conflict that we experience in our workplace. So one level is the intra-conflict. That's got to do with our personal issues, right? When we ourselves are not feeling great, then regardless of what we do in our work environment, we're actually going to feel fairly under-resourced. We may be going through personal situations, our family situation, our health, as well as we may be dealing with our own mental health issues. Now, that can be a circular thing. You can be having workplace stress that builds up, then leads to some intra-dynamics. Now, when that's activated, you might have avoidance issue, procrastination issues, or health and hygiene factors which prevent you from actually rocking up to work feeling resourced. So there's the intrapersonal things which, largely falls within the domain of taking care of your personal resources. Now, work resources can then fall into these other three categories. You could have inter-conflict, meaning you're actually having work relationship conflicts. Maybe you're not getting along with the person that's sitting next to you, or maybe you're having an issue with the person that you're reporting to. So they're interpersonal issues within your workplace that is causing you conflict. And again, you can problem solve that space. The funny thing is you probably need to be resourced personally in order to fully tackle that, right? Because when you're depleted, it's hard to have perspective, to take yourself out of the situation, to be less reactive, and to figure your way through that conflict. Then you've got structural conflict. That's conflict within the way that your work is organized, either your work role, your workload, or needing to, departmental conflict or processes and systems not working. So there's structural conflict, the conflict that has to do with what you need to rely on to get your job done is also under stress. And that's another area for us to look at when we're looking at the work resources. Now, there's another two levels. You've got that level, the structural level, and then you've got the organizational conflict. What's happening in the organization? Culture, politics, mergers, acquisitions, retrenchment, dying industries, booming industries, growth, expansion. So what's happening actually at that level, right? Trying to figure out, okay, where do I fit? Am I continue to be aligned to this place? What does this mean in terms of my role? So that introduces another level of conflict. And then final level I would want to say is then there's industry level conflict. What's happening at your industry may also be shifting. Veterinarians, doctors, surgeons, IT professionals. These are industries that are under stress because of the way that society has shifted and the way that we do work has shifted and expectations. And so at an industry level, there are certain occupations, banking would be the other one, risk management would be the other one, financial sector, where the world doesn't switch off, and the industry in terms of the way work used to be done it's now put under stress. So work resources is not something to just kind of say it's in the too hard basket. It is very important to address, and very important therefore to say that when you're looking at resourcing yourself in your work context, it's important to figure out which level is under stress. Because when you know which level, whether it's inter, structural, organizational, industry, then you can be a little bit more targeted in terms of what needs to be done and the decisions that need to be made. I was prompted to talk about this today because I was in a workshop today, and introduce myself, what you do, say I'm all about burnout prevention, and the early career psychologist next to me then said, oh yeah, we're constantly having to tell people to leave their jobs. And I'm like, that's not actually really the blanket solution to burnout. It's a little bit more complicated and implicated. I think where we can trip ourselves up is that when our intra-personal resources, how we're feeling within ourselves, are quite impacted, it's very difficult for us to tease out the other levels, because it requires us to have perspective, to have a degree of sense of confidence in our abilities, and to have a sense of direction, to figure out where those other and then this is like another whole live stream, but I'm going to blurt it out anyway, right? Then once you've figured out which level the conflict is, you then need to actually figure out what kind of approach you need to take. Is it an advocacy? Is it conversation? Is it negotiation? Is it accommodation? Is it compromise of your role? What is it? In order to solve those different levels, we first have to figure out our intra stuff, right? Which is why in the burnout model, having the intra stuff sorted is really pivotal to figuring out the other things. Alrighty. Oh, hey, I just have to flip. Sorry, podcast friends, you're not going to be able to see these, but just picture a very bright Valentino store. I don't know if I would ever wear those colors. I would love to see someone walk into my office one day with that. Here's the challenge, people. Maybe a lower ticket price, but those colors definitely, it would certainly brighten my day. Not the price tag, the colors. Catch you later.